Welcome to the Chef of X podcast.
I thought are you a fireman? What are you?
No,
plant guy?
I was firefighting over the summer, but in September I started a job at a farm in Cape Valley, and it's a livestock farm, so they raise like cattle, sheep, chickens. Their main product's chicken eggs, so they'd sell a bunch of chicken eggs at farmers market. You can see them at the Davis Farmers Market. My job's basically just to care for the animals, and like the biggest thing is they have to be rotated around on the pasture. Yeah, because I mean, what we grow technically is just the pasture itself, like the grasses and the broadleaf plants. Yeah. And then you rotate the animals on there in a certain way so that you can always have green pasture for them to move to, and so that they don't tear it up too bad. So yeah, so I move them around. I get the eggs, I wash the eggs. We have some tree crops, olives, almonds, oranges. Yeah.
And you've always had a farmer's vibe. Was this...
Well, not always, but since high school. And I come out of the womb with it. Yeah.
Is this exactly what you studied, the lifestyle? I thought you were more on the plant side of things.
No. See, well, my major sustainable agriculture. If you're gonna have an agriculture that's gonna be sustainable, you have to integrate both animals and plants.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but I've never actually worked with animals like this before, so this is my first experience doing this.
Wow.
Yeah. But when I lived at the Domes with you, I did that sheep class. I don't know if you remember that, because I would always refer to it because I'm like, I've been with the sheep, and you're like, because you have your chef and sheep thing. So
that's true. Chef versus sheep. Chef and sheep.
Plug. No, I'm just kidding.
Chef, therefore sheep. Yeah. What quarter was that you were messing around with the sheep? I feel like it was toward the end of me being there.
Yeah, it was probably winter.
Winter? Oh wow.
Yeah. Huh. Or I don't think it was spring. Yeah, I think it was winter.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy not studying anything related to plants or agriculture and being here, because I think a lot of the farming stuff is very unusual. That type of knowledge is not really something that the average person knows about, or even the average university student knows about. But here, it's really the norm. This is really designed for that. Yeah. And everybody else is kind of like taking up space or just making it look like a normal university.
Right. Well, I mean, when you look at the history of the school, that's what it is. It's an agricultural extension from UC Berkeley, and it's a land grant university. So as a land grant university, you have to have agricultural programs for people in the community to come and learn. So a lot of farmers actually are taught directly from what they call them extension specialists. It's like a lot of my professors are like, when I take soil science or like rangeland ecology or other classes, they're not actually even like professors or lecturers. They're just people that teach farmers directly. Yeah. And then because they have that position with the university, they have to like teach a class every once in a while.
That's so much better. Yeah. It's so much better to have a discipline where the people teaching are people who have done something in the world that they're teaching. So many of the subjects are just based on almost a Ponzi scheme setup where it's just based on you having the degree, but I don't know. It's very internally consistent, but it might not have much to do with the outside world. And I would argue math is like that. Yeah. Except engineering. So that's kind of what makes it valuable.
Engineering has a lot to do with the real world.
Yeah, engineering. Yeah, I would say math is almost completely useless other than the models. The models of the physical world, because it turns out you can use them to get to space, and you can use them to optimize processes and shit like that, chemistry. But although I personally like the artistic side of it, the artistic side of math, dare I say.
How dare you combine the arts and
I do recognize that, hey, you know what, this is not, it is what it is, but it's not what it's not. It's not the same as actually knowing how to grow food.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's not fundamental to the species at all. It's like being an actor.
A lot of times when I think of like studies that are like, people will get their major, their master's or whatever, and then like professions afterwards that generally cycle back into the university are like history and English. I'll think of things like that, like what can you really do with an English major? You can teach English, like.
Well, yeah, I will say this though. The major maybe isn't that valuable, but there are skills within the majors that are valuable. Yeah. And I would say knowing how to write is extremely valuable. Yeah. But do you need the major to learn how to write? You kind of can there's other ways of learning how to write
Right.
where you're not paying whatever amount of $1,000 per
Right.
year. So it's sticky. And that's why I want to be transparent about my interest not really being as fundamental as something like rotating plants and knowing about how to, feed livestock so that the plants don't, if I'm probably butchering it, but
No,
so
I
that
mean,
the
I didn't
plants don't
explain it
burn
very
out,
specifically. Yeah.
fucking ruining the soil.
It's really not that complicated. Like, you don't have to talk about it scientifically. It's just make sure that there's plants for the animals to eat. That's what I gotta do.
Yeah. I think that there's that, but then there's also beauty. And that I feel is largely what I'm fighting for.
Like
It's
aesthetic beauty, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, beauty in many forms. I would say music is beautiful too.
Yeah.
And that the arts are important, not because they have a better grasp on truth.
Yeah.
But just because you can talk about things that are more difficult to prove, or we don't have the instruments to measure, things like that.
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, oftentimes the value of what you're learning is only attributed to like the monetary value you can get for whatever career pays for that. And that shouldn't be what learning's about. It should be, it should be about the beauty. It should be about the real world as well too, which is why I like agriculture. Yeah. The real world is we all have to eat.
We all have to eat.
and the real,
some of us drink our food.
Oh yeah. Okay. It's still food though. It's still growing.
Somebody has to know the chemistry that allows you to make drinkable food.
You want to know something interesting actually on the topic of drinkable food? A new guy started working at this farm that I'm working at a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about a roommate he used to have, and he's like, "Oh yeah, my roommate, he always used to drink Huel, man. He was on the drinkable food diet." I'm like, "Oh no way, my old roommate too." And I was like, "Did your roommate do the intermittent fasting?" He's like, "Yep." And I'm like,
I
"Must
don't
be a
anymore,
type."
though.
Not anymore?
No, there's no reason for me to do it. It was
Why'd
dumb
you
for
do
me to do
before?
it in the beginning. I don't know, just to see if I could do it maybe. I don't really know.
I feel like it worked with like your sleep patterns though, because you were like, you wouldn't eat like a big breakfast, you know?
I don't even remember
like
doing it.
Okay, whatever. Never mind. It's not that important. But all I'm trying to say is you fit that type, you know?
Well, here's what had helped.
The ex-roommate trying to do that stuff.
Well, experiment with the body.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
I do shit like that all the time. Like for a while, I wouldn't eat after 5 p.m. Like I was trying to like not eat dinner, you know?
Yeah.
It's just experimenting, just seeing what works for your own body. And I fully support that. Yeah.
What are you doing now, diet and exercise wise?
Diet and exercise wise. Exercise, I've been going to the ARC more than I used to.
What are your goals in the ARC?
My goals in the ARC, I've always been, like, for the past couple of years, I've just been trying to get my back stronger because I've always had this kind of imbalance where, like, I'm kind of, like, heavier on the front side than on the back side, like chest and abs, and then my back's pretty weak. So I've just been trying to build up my back a little bit.
Are you deadlifting?
No, I don't. I'm not doing that stuff. I'm just doing, like, pull-ups and rows. That's mainly what I do.
Pull-ups and rows. No, that is good. That is good. That is good.
I'm not into the power lifts, you know. Actually, that's another thing that my coworker said was like, he was just one of those YouTubers who knows everything, right? Or sells himself as knowing everything. Was like,
do I know him?
I don't know if you know him. I can't remember his name.
It's the one YouTuber that you introduced me to. He wasn't a show. He was an artsy guy.
Which one was that?
Oh man, I forgot his name, but I hung out with him a bunch of times with you. But
I know with the glasses.
Maybe
he's an artsy guy.
He did some crazy YouTube video. I think he brought over
Django.
some Django.
Jeffrey. I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah,
he brought over some weird dish with the rolled up.
Right. I know what you're talking about. That guy. No, it wasn't him.
I think it was Greek food.
It might have been baklava.
Yeah.
That's really good stuff.
It was good.
I haven't seen him in a while. Anyways, the number one exercise is supposed to be the deadlift. Like if you're gonna do nothing else and just one, apparently deadlift's where it's at. But you told me that before too. So
well, the thing about it is,
it just activates so many different muscle groups.
Yeah. But it is a form thing. And also,
and I've tried it before, and my form's pretty shit. So
well, that's the thing. Apparently, to get the effects from it, the best way to do it is actually to do heavy deadlifts.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. That's the catch-22.
And you have to do light to learn the form.
You have to do
you're
light
not
to
going to be
learn
able
the
to
form. You're not
get
gonna
any
get
effects for a long time. Yeah.
Well,
or at least as long as it takes you to learn it.
Yeah, you're not going to get the major like lower back effects and stuff like that. I've heard. Obviously I don't really know about it. In fact, my favorite form of it is a form that a lot of people don't even do. because it's not. It's
Was it the
supposedly-
Roman one?
No,
Okay.
although I do like Romanian ones.
Yeah, a Romanian one. Sorry, yeah.
It's the sumo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's like I don't even want to go into it, but I love it.
Anything sumo, you gotta love, right?
Yeah. Because it's I don't. Here's my vague justification for why I like it. This might not be true, but it's a leg movement. I feel like it's mostly a leg movement. The sumo protects your lower back a little bit better.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is like the way that my legs are sitting and maybe the way that my hips sit, it feels like the most natural way to bend over to grab something.
Okay.
Whereas for the traditional one or whatever it's called, conventional, your legs are closer together and your arms are on the outside, and it's very awkward for me for some reason. So it's probably just my own anatomy. Or my own,
I mean, if it just fits
I
your
don't
body
stretch
type.
certain parts of my body the right way, so I'm tight here,
Right.
so I can only sumo. But like, I just feel like it's. I feel like when I was doing it, the rest of my week was better.
Really?
It was weird.
Wow.
It's like
Interesting.
It's like a hormonal, psychological, neurological thing that's happening.
And you didn't get that with the conventional?
I didn't try the. I didn't fuck with. I didn't get that without deadlifts.
Okay,
But I was
so you're
also
saying-
squatting.
Okay.
And it could have been the squats that were giving me that effect.
That's true.
So they say those two are really big mass builders as well, and I was interested in building mass, so they delivered.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
What about you? What's your exercise routine currently?
yeah. It's So I'm back to the body weight stuff,
Okay.
and which means my legs are probably getting weaker. Like I actually my main way of working out my legs besides jogging is having someone jump on my back, and I'll just piggyback
Piggyback
them.
ride? That's my
Yeah.
favorite way of doing it. Do that up a hill. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there aren't that many hills in Davis.
Not in
I know
Davis,
there's that
no.
hill like on campus going underneath the
bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the place.
Or
to do it.
stairwells.
Yeah.
Go up to the fourth floor of the library with somebody on your back.
I should be.
That would do it.
That would do it. But anyhow, my upper body though, right before I stopped going to the Arc, I was focusing on overhead presses because I realized
nice,
that I wasn't doing any overhead movements, and it was really suffering. Like my long head of my triceps weren't getting stimulated well.
Does
I
your
was
shoulders too, right?
and my shoulders. Yeah. So I was doing overhead presses. I got pretty strong on it. I was able to do a plate, like, I don't know, 4 sets of
nice.
something, 3, which is like from a power perspective, good.
Yeah.
But then I stopped and I realized handstands.
Oh shit! Yeah,
that's what the calisthenics community
It's
does.
overhead. It's just
That's
you turn
overhead.
yourself upside down.
Yeah, so there's
That's clever. Yeah.
there's a movement called the handstand pushup.
Yeah,
It's
I've seen
fucking
it.
insane.
I've seen it. It's so insane. It takes so much core strength to do that
Takes
too.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's elegant because it's
Yeah.
a body weight movement.
Yeah.
So you could actually do it for
all
the
you
rest of
need
your
is
life.
calisthenics. That's all you need.
So
yeah.
mentally, that's where I'm headed. Is handstand pushup in a year.
Nice.
So right now I'm doing what's called the pike pushup,
Yeah. I know.
which
I've heard
is
that one, yeah.
just go to a bench or something, put my feet up, and then do a pseudo handstand and do a pushup
right.
there.
Wean your way
And
into it.
It's like I'm not that strong, so it's actually challenging for me. And I'm just grateful that like YouTube exists so that I could figure out how to spend my energy. And then also there's a lot of variations of push-ups that I'm doing because from my brief like gym life experience, I learned that to build the upper body, there's like 4 movements.
Yeah.
You got to push vertically, pull vertically, or push and pull vertically, and push and pull horizontally.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I didn't think of it in those terms before, but now that I do, that's the way that I work out is push and pull days. And since I'm not really doing like weekends are kind of leg days, I'll jog.
Right,
you know?
exactly, yeah.
I'll hopefully get a couple piggyback rides in throughout the week, but
Or
it's just
give piggyback.
or
rides.
give. Sorry, yeah. But push pull days, and on the push days, I'm doing unilateral push-ups. So one side each, because I have weaknesses in my shoulders that I'm trying to even
Okay.
out. And then handstand pike push-ups for the pushes, and then for the pull days, I'm doing unilateral pull-ups, which are archer is the real word.
Archer pull-ups.
Archer pull-ups, which I'm super weak at.
I was gonna
but
say, so
love
you
it.
just hold on with both hands still, but you're just like doing that with one, or
you end up pulling a little bit with your stretched hand, but it's like this.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the push-ups?
And yeah, same thing with the push-ups. It's like that. So you just try to keep one arm straight. Okay. And with the pull-ups, you actually, when you straighten it out, you try to put it over the bar.
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah. But it actually gives you a little bit of a rest at the top, but I'm like weak. So at the end of it, I'll try to go for it. I'm just like, almost pull something. Be like, all right, that's over. That's over.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm doing, I'm trying to fix some shoulder shit. I'm trying to grow the long heads, doing more overhead shit. And then I started, because of your boy Bez, I was hanging out with him one time in his van, and this guy, you know, of course he knows 1,000 people. Right. This guy walks in, he's like, hey, I'm an ex-bodybuilder.
Oh, okay. You're like, let me ask you a question. Yeah.
So he said, the way that I used to do it is olive oil and egg whites. Because the fats, you need like a bunch of calories for bodybuilding. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, the fats are a great way to get your calories, and it's clean fats. Mm-hmm. And then the egg whites are a good way to get your protein. You just buy it from wherever, and it's like 50 grams in one drink. And I was like, 50 grams? Gee willikers. Right? So one thing that I don't do the olive oil, because I feel like my calories are fine. Yeah. But I do the egg whites now. Okay. So I'm an egg white guy. I do the whole, you know, push day or pull day. Yeah. And then I come home and just drink the egg whites, you know, get into the shower, and then of course drink my food for the rest of the day. Right. The
thing about Huel though is it's like 30 grams of protein per serving too. I know. So I'm already getting plenty of protein in there. I'm getting a lot, but I'm probably pissing out most of your protein.
I'm pissing it out. You know what I'm saying?
It's all good. But the bodybuilder said
it. Well, I don't know. Exactly. Yeah. I think the last time I did the calculation, I weighed less. So I'd have to redo it, how much I actually need.
Oh, okay.
But I'm doing it out of habit. That way, I know I have my bases covered, and I just...
No. So, I mean, when you're young, it's not going to hurt you, you know? It's just over time.
You know what I'm saying? It's just egg white. So
it's just egg white. If you want to know something interesting, actually, the two like main products that my farm sells are eggs and olive oil. So I eat like You're gonna be 6 eggs a day when I'm there. Oof. Yeah. Oof. But with the yolks have a lot of nutrients. You're missing out on the nutrients, man.
I don't know why he suggested egg whites. Well, people should just get liquid eggs.
Yeah. Or just get regular eggs and eat them like a normal person. But you can only drink your food. Yeah.
I mean, it's just
fast and convenient.
It's just wildly convenient. It's like unless I start having eye problems. Oh my God. It's like it's kind of hard to go back when there's no real advantage that I see other than entertaining guests. That's the real advantage.
You're missing out on the aesthetics, yeah, because food is inherently social.
Oh, but I get free food at work. You do? But I'm not social at work.
How often do you go to work, though?
On the weekends. So at least on the weekends, I get at least a bowl
barely
of cereal,
any of the week right there, though.
So I had chicken.
I think everybody should cook and share food more than we do. But like realistically, yeah, people don't have a lot of time. So I see where the drinkable food comes in.
I also want to avoid people.
Interesting. Okay. You know what would be great?
A real recluse.
You know what would be great for your podcast, actually, would be some nice, delicious food right in the center.
It would be.
That you're sharing as you're talking.
True. And in the long term, done with these mics, lavalier or something, or better yet, some shit from like boom mics, and then it just records the room, and then it's way more natural. But this is great for sound. It's not so great for looking at what's going on or the person actually enjoying the experience.
I mean, you feel watched. You got that thing. You got this thing shoved in your face, but that's just me. Some people don't care. It's fine.
Some people don't care. I mean, what is life about anyway? Yeah.
What is life about?
You gotta cook the meal.
Gotta cook the meal.
That's it. And
see, it's not just a metaphor, though, man. You really gotta cook the meal.
You gotta start cooking and eating your fucking food. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Well, I see it as cooking when I put the drinkable food in the blender bottle and shake it up.
You're definitely cooking when you're shaking it. You know, you're adding heat. Yeah.
I'm changing the whole nature of what it was.
Yeah.
You know, before it was powder, now it's drinkable. Think about that.
All right.
Metaphorically speaking.
I think I've talked about drinkable food.
Okay.
Anyways, it sounds like a good exercise routine. And you actually gave me some more words to describe mine, because I'm kind of doing like a push-pull thing myself. Like I do a little bit of bench press and push-ups one day and dips one day. And then I'll do the pull-ups and the rows the other day, which is kind of a push-pull in a sense. Yeah.
What's the biggest area of growth do you feel in your world right now? Or what are the areas you're looking forward to growing in?
I honestly, I mean, you've labeled me as a runner. I mean, as somebody who likes running, I always want to keep running more and
much
get
do you
better at
run?
running. It always dwindles, man. It gets less and less. Maybe like 3 days a week and like 5 miles each time. So not much.
5 miles is nothing to be ashamed of.
I'm not. It's not that there's shame, but it's like I would do more if I could. You know. Like when I was a freshman, I was running every day, and then it would be 5 miles every day, and then two days a week it'd be like 10, 12 miles.
Yeah.
And then I came down to Davis, and it was like around 14 miles is nothing because it's flat here, so you don't even feel it. Yeah. But at that point, I don't know, you're spending a lot of time just running, and I'm like, I'm here to meet people, and I'm just alone when I'm running. So yeah.
Why don't you? Did you quit the track club?
It's one of those things where they do it at the same time every quarter, and I can't always meet that time. So I kind of I dropped it. Yeah, but it was fun while I did it. Yeah, that made a big difference. Just running with a group of people, then you can just chat
while you're running.
Yeah, a lot of people just chat when you're running.
One of the things I like about you is you, like me, you run outside.
You can't stand.
I can't stand the treadmill either, and it's like, so when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time skateboarding and biking, and I suspect that it has played a huge role in the way that I view the city, the town, because it's like
completely.
You're moving through it. You're not walking, but you're not in a box.
You're not in a car, you know? Yeah, exactly.
You're just kind of going wherever you're going, and you're in your own world, but there's a beauty to seeing the trees pass by. And also...
You're not just seeing, though. Hearing, smelling, because when you're in a car, you can see all that shit, too. Well, for me, I was blasting my ears out. I was headphoned up. So, and this is before I was smart enough to have the over-the-ear headphones. So I was really just, earbuds ruining my shit. But yeah, seeing it, hearing my music, smelling, the smells. Feeling the wind on your face.
Feeling the dirt, splash on my new t-shirt. These are things that I like, they're priceless to me. And it actually was the thing that I looked forward to if I was running, is that I would see some scenery. And also there's a lot of beautiful scenery in Pasadena. I recently visited like a month or so ago. Oh, nice. And I just skated around. And
Pasadena's really gorgeous. Yeah,
this is gorgeous, man. I feel grateful that I was talking about beauty earlier, but I kind of underplayed it. I think we need beauty.
Oh, we absolutely do.
I think we need beautiful shit. I think it affects our psychology really a lot.
Yeah.
And I've just looking back and visiting, I'm like, man, I'm grateful I was in a fucking beautiful place, because if I wasn't, then who knows?
No, it's definitely essential to your development. I read one time, like, the like feeling of like, I don't know, I can't put better words to it, of like being mind blown by like when you go to like the top of a mountain and you look around, or just some like insanely beautiful natural scene. Like that's something that humans need. Like, and that's why people go to national parks. That's why national parks are like the most frequented thing by Americans, is because people want to go there and just
smoke weed.
Whoa, like this is fucking gorgeous.
Mushrooms.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why so many people are into drugs, because they don't get that.
They don't. Too. Well, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
it's the experience that you're getting on drugs, arguably any experience that you're getting, is a form of something you could get without drugs.
Right.
But it's just much easier with the drugs.
Right.
It's some form of that. It's that there's some kind of a receptor in your brain already that's being hacked or taken advantage of. And you could get it, but it's like, do you put in the work? There's this famous, like, I knew him because he was kind of like an atheist guy that was talking, like when I was in the 10th grade, I was really interested in religion. Okay. And, but he's also somebody who's like a neuroscientist. And he was saying, for some people, taking drugs, like especially psychedelics, can be very important, because you can realize for the first time certain things about the life of the mind that you otherwise wouldn't have even looked at. You would have completely ignored it for the rest of your existence. But he's a big meditation guy now. Yeah. And he's like, but you should just be meditating. Like, you shouldn't.
He's not endorsing psychedelics. He's just saying, but that's a method of
opening your eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
But then once you realize there is something out there worth pursuing, other than what's going on in your material world, then there are plenty of ways to get there. And one of the best ways, he would argue, is meditation. It's free.
Yeah, it's free.
And
you can do it every day and it'll actually benefit your health as opposed to mushrooms.
Yeah, it's a skill that you can build, and then similar to the handstand pushup, once you have it, well, then you can just maintain it for the rest of your days. But it's worthwhile. You'll know it's worthwhile if you have a transformative experience. Whereas if you were to just do the meditation, maybe a month in you'd give up because you might think, well, there's nothing else to discover here. I'm not feeling any different, so fuck it. Whereas with the drugs, oh no, you take enough of this, you're going to feel something, and then you'll know there's something beyond whatever you're directly experiencing. So, like runner's high, that's what you're going for. Right?
Yeah.
Instead of smoking a joint, just run across the street.
Oh gosh, definitely. No, yeah, I mean, but there's a lot to it that I like personally. I mean, kind of like you're saying, like I grew up not in a city, I grew up in a forest, but for me...
Which is wild.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, and for me, I wanted to see what was out there. Like, I mean, I could see a mountain over there. I'm like, okay, well, let's go see what that mountain looks like, and let's go see what the view from the mountain looks like. So for me, I would just go and run on all the United States Forest Service roads that they have built through the woods. And that's my method of exploration. And so now, whenever I go to a new city, I run. Like I went to Malaysia over the winter break in Shanti's hometown. That's one of the first things I did was just go for a run. And that's one of the things that like I can't really comprehend. Like I heard a third-year grad student the other day say like, oh, I've never been to like Young Hall before. I didn't know where Young Hall was. But it's like when I came to Davis, first thing I did was run all around campus, went all around the town. It's like situational awareness is key to survival, or just to like just have an interest in the place you're in, just know where you are. You should build a relationship with the place that you're in if you're going to spend any time there. Yeah. I think running or skateboarding or biking or anything that's just allowing you to move through the space is critical. I think it's critical. And it's something that we miss out when we're just in our boxes.
Yeah.
And also too, I mean, our culture is just super individualistic and like, I mean, we're all kind of like hidden from each other based on the structure of our built environment and of our social environment. And so that's one of the reasons why I like it, is because even if I'm not talking to somebody when running, I can at least see other people, I can at least know there's other people that exist. Whereas if I just sit in a room, all I have is like a laptop or a phone or something to be aware of other people,
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I admire about it.
Well, speaking of other people, I think there's an anonymity that comes with running or biking or skating too. That's really cool.
Anonymity?
Yeah. Like when you're out in, just in public running or whatever, people might know you, right?
Yeah.
But mostly they're just reacting to you as a runner.
Right.
So, or as a human.
They don't know anything else about you other than you're some guy running.
Yeah. You're just a human being that's there. Yeah. Versus if you're in the box, if you're super in your own space, then there are all these other labels and titles that you have to kind of be constrained by after a while.
Yeah.
That maybe can mess up the way that you would interact with the other people, mess up the flow.
Getting back to another part of the conversation you're talking about was the how like meditation or psychedelics can what was the word you used? You said like, I don't know, basically open your mind to what reality is. There's a book I'm reading, and what the author uses to describe a similar thing is he calls it a cultural lens, or the cultural eyeglasses.
Yeah.
So basically, we all have cultural eyeglasses, and that shapes how we view things and the possibility of what we can view.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can actually absorb all the information and understand reality is to take the eyeglasses off.
Yeah.
So meditation, psychedelics, that's how you take the eyeglasses off. I just thought that was something interesting to share.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think about culture a lot. But I think about it in this way, because I might be using the wrong word. Maybe culture isn't the best word for this, but there's sets of rules and almost like rules of thumb or suggestions or reward systems, incentives.
Like implicit in the culture,
that everyone is kind of born into, and you can have different systems, right? Right. And it's hilarious when you realize something in your system doesn't align with someone else's, or like for me, what's hilarious is when there's something that's extremely important in my system, and then or so I thought. And then I find someone else who that's not important at all to them, and they're doing just fine, or they're achieving my goals better than I am, or something like that. And you realize, like, oh, this is redundant. This is not even important. This has nothing to do with what I actually am interested in.
Right.
It's just something that I like. Until I debunk it, it will be the law for me.
Yeah.
And this seems like it's the position we're always in. But what's interesting about that is, well, what if you could set somebody up with a good system? That'd be super cool, right?
Yeah.
So like if everyone is in a shitty system by some measure, then the coolest thing you could do is to edit your own system. And then the next person in that one will have a less shitty one. But they'll still have to debunk a lot of bullshit.
Right.
It just will be less bullshit than before.
That's the thing. There's always gonna be some amount of bullshit, but it's just
because like we love the bullshit.
yeah.
The bullshit is what makes a lot of people live. Like one of the things that's bullshit to me is gossip. And somebody has framed it. I don't know whose quote this is, but it has to do with like you could talk about people, events, or ideas. And the high level is ideas, and the low level is people, and the middle level is events.
Well,
I don't know who's thought that.
Okay, that's just a quote. Okay,
yeah, right. But this is roughly. I don't disagree with it. Where was I going with that? Where were we? Culture, gossip. Yeah. When I'm in an environment where it's heavy gossip, I start to sink into my shell because I'm like, oh shit, like this is not my world.
Yeah.
So either I'm completely quiet or I contribute, but then I might have to go against my own ideals just to contribute.
Yeah.
Because it's clear to me that this is a high value right now.
Right.
It's very important that we bring out, so sometimes I'll say, I love telling stories without saying who's in the story.
Yeah. Just saying like a person or so.
I
love the same thing.
So sometimes what'll happen is I will have told something 1,000 times, and then there'll be a gossip moment, and I'll be like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, this person.
Yeah.
And then 3 people will be like, oh, that changes everything.
Right. You're like, no, I was just trying to tell you the story.
No, it doesn't change anything. It's the same story.
Yeah.
Right. But if I could, like, this is one of the areas where I feel like I've debunked some bullshit that maybe I've had a recent experience, and that's why I'm thinking about this. But it would be cool if the next generation of people growing up in my whatever program culture could have that perspective. Even if they didn't do it, they would at least have the perspective that, hey, there is something different between discussing people, events, and ideas. And that there's, even if the way I'm saying it isn't the best way of saying it, there is some truth behind the idea that there's a hierarchy there rather than just everything being even.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I don't know how much I agree with that.
Yeah, that's
like,
by the way, I obsess over useless mathematics.
Exactly. See, that's the thing. Like,
and I value it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think what I think.
Right.
And it could turn out that, hey, maybe discussing people is the way that you teach fables, for instance, or tell stories. People are usually more important in stories than ideas. So this could be a horribly wrong way of thinking about the world. But it's an example of what I mean by, when I say culture, I might be using the wrong word, but I'm really just thinking of sets of ideas.
Right.
Or like rules of thumb that people adopt without having the chance to examine.
Yeah. My only thing is, I don't know. There definitely are some hierarchies with things, but whenever it's pointed out, I try to think about it in a different way because
and
I
by
mean,
the way,
ideas.
let me be the first to say anything I suggest is most likely very stupid in some way that I don't know at the moment that I'm saying it.
That's
but
true
that's
of anything
the idea
anybody
is that it's
says.
going to improve over time. It's going to improve over time.
Yeah. My only thought on it is, I mean, ideas directly relate and are in combination with people and events. They're not separate from people. As people, we come up with ideas.
Yeah.
I'm not in any way defending gossip, although there might be some value to it that we don't see.
I'm sure there's value there.
There probably is. And as a social primate species, there's probably some huge evolutionary benefit that we don't know.
Maybe gossip is the original form of fables. where by shaming
I
each
can see
other
that.
or by saying this is good behavior,
Yeah.
we're really teaching each other, hey, this is how we should be. You know,
Could be, yeah.
editing each other's behavior for the long term.
Or it could just be I mean, gossip isn't always a negative thing. Like, it could be a way of like, it could be a way of sharing resources, like, oh, like so and so just like lost their job, or so and so just became pregnant. You know, it's like, how do you then the person hearing could be like, oh, how do I help that person? You know, it's not always about shame. You know,
That's true.
It's not always about shame.
It's not always. About
I'm not
shame.
defending gossip. I'm just trying to unpack it a bit. You know,
That's true. And let me help you unpack it.
unpack it more. Yeah.
I actually don't gossip or listen to gossip enough
See, the thing is, I don't know anything about gossip. I don't gossip at all.
to distinguish between the valuable and the non-valuable. It's
Yeah.
possible
Yeah,
that I'm grouping all of it into the area that's the least valuable and kind of straw manning gossiping itself.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Who the fuck knows?
Who the fuck knows? We
I
don't
heard
know
what's her
shit.
name knows. You won't believe what I heard.
Who is it? Who is it?
Who is it? What is it? Running.
You wanted to get some minimalism.
Oh yeah, minimalist. Are you a
Minimalism.
fucking minimalist or what?
I don't know. I feel like that's a label that you've given to me against somebody who lived with me. I think, okay, here's what I think about how you started it with those three things. I think the last thing describes me in the way that I describe myself the most, which is nonconformist. So the first two get canceled out, runner and minimalist. I'm just the nonconformist.
Well, you do run.
I do run.
And how much stuff do you have in grams?
In grams. I have no fucking
If you have less
clue.
than this amount.
Oh my god. I try to not have a lot of things.
Yeah.
I do strive for that. I think it's valuable to be mobile, particularly as somebody who is in a house or landowner of any sorts.
Yeah.
And I mean, we get attached to our possessions, and we live in a consumer society. And part of being a minimalist is just learning not to buy a bunch of shit that you don't need. And I'm sure there's plenty of popular culture minimalists out there. I know there's people on YouTube or social media or whatever, but for me, it's just, I recognize I don't have much money. I recognize buying shit doesn't make me happy. I recognize that I only need a few things. So it makes no logical sense to have a lot of things. I don't know if that's minimalism. If it is, then sure, I'm a minimalist. I don't know how much more there is in this topic. Like, what do you think about it? I mean, coming here, you're like, yeah, you don't have much stuff either. I would call you a minimalist. In terms of like somebody who has cameras and microphones and podcast shit, you're a maximalist. But
Well, I don't know about that. This would not be the maximum.
okay.
But no, I agree with that. I actually feel like it's one of those things where the person who would fit the title the best is the person who wouldn't care much to even notice the title.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like, you don't have to identify as an artist to make art.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't make shit difference. Yeah.
You just do the art. Or
Yeah.
and if, in my experience, if I may say so myself, when you're really doing something beautiful, then you're just worried about that and not the title of it. So I think it's one of the funnier titles because in my experience, everyone who has marketed themselves as a minimalist has not really met the bill, in my view. Like they're doing, but people who are just kind of doing their thing, it's usually kind of a surprise to find out some people have massively less shit than everyone else in the population.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I meet people like that myself that I'm surprised by. You know, that's why I wouldn't even consider myself that, because I met also somebody who worked at the farm. He just had one small bag of clothes and one small bag of books.
Wow.
That's what he had for a year.
Oh wow, that's
all he had.
wild. So
That's all he
did
had.
you talk to him about that?
I mean, not really. I was just like, I understood that he didn't need much stuff, so
And if
that's
he
all
worked
it
at
was.
the farm, that's even more reason why he didn't need much stuff.
Because he had all his food, he had access to communal like cookware and a shower and all this other stuff. So he didn't even have his own towel because there were towels at the farm. So it's like, I didn't need any of that shit.
Wow.
Well, he's also internationally from another country, so that might have a part of it too.
Well, sometimes that has the opposite effect.
Yeah,
where people have a lot.
Actually, my second roommate was from near Shanghai, and he had like 10 suitcases in his room, like a lot of shit. Yeah. So, yeah, your point is proven by that.
Wow. Well, yeah, I guess if the bare minimum is satisfying, then... Well, another side that you've hinted at is that the stuff really isn't the happiness.
Yeah. I mean, and that's something that
and once
people
you get
always
that piece,
hear.
once you get that piece, then the rest of it kind of falls into place. That like, well, what are you really excited? What really is going to move the needle for you? Is it another suit?
Right.
And if not, then it just... You won't even have the desire. I think for some people, this is also another distinction between those who carry the title or are proud of the title and those who don't care, is that seeming like you are a minimalist, if that moves the needle for you, then probably not.
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying. If you're
if
trying to be minimalist, like if that's what gives you,
if it makes a difference that that somebody else thinks that you're a minimalist, then that's a different joy than just going for a jog or having stronger relationships. You know, there's a number of things that most people cite as like I would say diet, exercise, and relationships usually move the needle for most people.
And those are three things that people are lacking in, like strongly in our society. I think poor diet, little exercise, and shitty relationships.
Oh yeah, and I'm the worst of all three.
Nah,
I mean, if you think about my drinkable food
get
diet,
out of here.
My exercise is better.
Yeah,
actually, I would argue that my relationships are better, but better than what? Better. What's my bedrock?
You should be. I mean, your bar should be yourself better than the past.
Better than the past of myself.
Yeah.
Probably. I think. Yeah, I think some of my priorities are good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty vague way of putting it, but I feel like the battles I'm fighting are good ones, and that they lead to long-term happiness rather than short-term.
The battles?
Stuff. Yeah, I feel like...
Of what? What? Like people? If you're referring to your relationships as battles, it's a bit concerning.
Here, let me explain, okay? I feel like the pillars, are in a better position than they have been in the past.
You could just use real words instead of
my foundation.
Okay.
Is
stronger? More secure. What is it?
It's just, it's grown.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a valid metaphor to use. Foundation's always growing. Are you ever going to build on it, though?
I mean...
You ever going to put a house on that foundation?
Listen, I'm a minimalist, all right? Through and through.
Okay, I had one more thing I want to say about minimalism. I think one aspect of me that might contribute to being minimalist is that I'm not exposed to a ton of branding. And I think that's like a lot of...
By the way, this is available on
I was going to get there, because marketing is like the point of marketing in our capitalist society is to get people to think that they need something, whether they don't need it or not. Think that you want it,
Yeah.
You see some like hot, sexy girl drinking a Coke. You're like, fuck, I want a Coke so I can get a hot, sexy girl, Like, you don't even have to have that thought, but it's just there. It's subconscious. Or like, hey, my friend JP's got a hat.
Yeah, man, those hats are just there.
Hat,
we don't even have to talk about it.
So I think that's it. I'm just not exposed to much branding because I don't watch a lot of TV or go on social media a lot or do anything that would expose me to branding.
That's interesting, because I actually gave Adomi that exact hat that you picked up over a year ago.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and that just—I
think I found that in the free box one time.
Yeah, wow. Well, it is what it is.
Actually, I think I gave that to what's the PC term? A houseless person.
Oh yeah. That'd be good branding too.
Yeah. Would.
You know, actually, this is not a joke. Some of the earliest podcasts that I did were with homeless people.
Yeah, I think, I remember you saying that once before. Yeah.
Because I was living in San Jose and I
Right.
had no network.
Right.
And
Right.
the closest thing I had to a network was I was with basically I was at this halfway
Yeah,
house,
the halfway house. Yeah.
and
yeah,
it was like people were in and out of there in like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like this is still online, by the way. I did a podcast with this girl who missed her court date because she was doing the podcast and never saw her again.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Does she know that it was
Now,
her
the court date was she was late way before we started.
Okay,
she had
okay,
missed it like a whole hour or two
Yeah.
before that.
It's not like the podcast.
No. It
sacrifice.
was not like she was like, okay, let's make this 20 minutes,
wrap
and we
this up.
went for 3 hours. No.
Oh, shit, damn.
She should have been on the bus.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have even
She
been
would-
around.
Yeah.
To be, But it was a good one too. It was one of the best ones, actually.
Oh, wow.
So it came from a real place, but it wouldn't be bad branding or marketing to be in a fucking free box or a houseless
Yeah.
person. Is that what they're saying for homeless now? How
I
is
don't
that
fucking know.
supposed
Just
to
say
be-
homeless. I don't know.
How is
Yeah.
that supposed to be less?
It doesn't
insulting?
matter. It
It's
doesn't
actually,
matter.
and by the way, the people who are making up these terms,
Yeah.
are they doing anything to help the homeless,
Right,
or did
right.
the homeless sign off on this thing to say we are less offended by this?
I don't know. It doesn't make.
It's kind of
I don't know.
confusing why
I think
somebody who's like, why do they have the authority to say you're saying the wrong
they
thing?
might have been homeless themselves, and it might have not.
Then that's to them, right?
Right. But as the group as a whole, yeah.
They're
Is there a
saying, "Hey,
democratic vote amongst all the homeless
Yeah, well-
people? No, obviously not. I think it comes from a place of experience. So then people try to say like, oh well, home isn't necessarily attributed to having a house. I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's what it comes from. I say homeless, houseless interchangeably. It's just
Houseless. There's always a new term. This is one of the
doesn't
things
matter.
that I feel like math gets right, which is
the same constants and variables all the time.
No, it's that the concepts are more important than the words that describe them, that the titles that describe them.
Yeah.
And variables are the most poetic way of displaying that relationship, is that it really doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is how does it function in the rest
Right.
of the thing? How does it function with everything else? And to get caught up in the this and the that, the right word, the wrong this, it's like half the time, even if it's supposed to be something, like what's funniest is if there's supposed to be something protecting me, and I don't even agree with it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Like on my behalf, let's say I'm living in a living room, and somebody, oh well, don't
Communal
say that.
room.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Oh, you're saying the wrong thing. Like, okay, but
I live in a living room.
yeah, it gets to a certain point where it's like, okay, you might be overdoing yourself trying to.
Yeah. To help other people, try
Well,
helping in a
there's
different way.
Yeah, there's an argument that I heard about political correctness that was very interesting, which is that saying the right thing, it's regardless of whether or not it's good, does it work? It might not work to simply change words. It might be that you really do have to change your process of thinking before you can make real progress. Now, I don't know. I'm not a fucking linguist, and I'm not let me just
Psychologist,
I'm not. Let me just, before I say too much, admit that this
Sounds
is
like
the
you're
credibility
being PC
wise.
right now, dude.
No. Credibility wise, let me not. I don't want my position or anything other than what I'm saying to be considered in the argument. Just consider the argument.
Yeah.
And if that's crazy, then what the fuck is the universe even for?
I think there's nothing wrong with just considering the argument.
Yeah.
Personally, I think we
You're
get
not supposed
caught
to be
up on
arguing that. Huh?
definitions
Well,
so
it's just an
much.
argument.
It's just
Anybody should be able to.
what I hate about
an argument.
is people always think it implies like
Fights.
aggressiveness or fights. Yeah, it has that cultural connotation of like, oh, you're like screaming and yelling at each other. It's like, no, it's
But that's really a fuck up on the intellectual's part, because it's the same as the word theory,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
where it's the common term theory is closer to the science term hypothesis. Closer.
Right.
So it's kind of a fuck up for having
But then people
that.
think theory is
Yeah, it's because it's
an educated guess is what.
Yeah,
people think.
and but it's understandable why.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to
No, it
say
is
people
understandable
aren't malicious. There are,
Right.
you know, but there are also just normal ass people who
Yeah.
could be genuinely confused by this kind of double meaning thing. A word
That's the thing
with two
about
meanings.
words is that, definitions shift and change over time. That's why I feel like a lot of my education has just been definitions of words. It's kind of useless.
Well, I like to define my own words.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like definitions are important when you're speaking in a conversation just to clarify what you're saying. But you don't need to, like, adhere to one strict definition of something, and that's always what it means.
Hence the poetic use of the variables.
Right.
In math, it's like, we're using A for this situation, but if you could easily just change it to V or something else, or maybe something a Greek letter, and it would be the same meaning, and nobody would even bat an eye at.
Right.
Yeah. So
because the explanation's there, it's written out.
Yeah. The important pieces are not the names.
Yep.
Okay, you need to ask me a question.
Oh, I need to ask you a question. Yeah. Who's watching this, making sure that there's a balance in the questioning, huh?
No one. Nobody listens to that. I actually designed this so that only two people will like these podcasts.
Oh, okay.
The people in them.
I know. I was like,
but you know what people fuck with? People love the most important question in the universe.
And at the end,
So it doesn't matter what the fuck
You know what
happens.
I was thinking is stealing it away from you.
Steal it.
How do you want to
not
use
steal
it? Away from you, but just taking away I think the best part about the most important question in the universe, it's not the question, it's not what the person says, but it's just what you say at the end, which is, "That's right."
Oh yeah, you should steal that, please.
That's the
I stole that. I stole that. Yeah, I stole that probably from some person without a houseless person.
Yeah,
I already forgot
homeless
the term.
person, whatever, it doesn't matter. How do you feel about taking time off from UC Davis and exploring other things?
Yeah. I
mean, that's what I came here just to connect with you. I didn't come here for the podcast.
Well, that's the same thing. You
I
gotta
it's the same
understand.
thing. I do understand. I do understand. You don't have to explain. Answer the question. Answer the question.
Okay. So, two things. Most of the time, I feel like most of the time, I actually think that being in community college is a waste of time.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually think, why am
Well,
I?
you've already done that too, right?
I'm like, why am I even here? Why am I even going to do this? Why don't I just stop going and then that's it? But I also realized that there's a certain type of mental discipline that there's a lot of room for growth for me. And I think it could possibly be useful for that. Just sitting down, doing problems, checking them, that whole routine. I think not necessarily class per class, but like over a matter of months, I think I get a benefit from that.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that, and I feel that that's not happening at Davis at all.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
That's not happening at all.
Yeah.
At Davis, the problem is in my mind, it's that the quarter system has kind of a
quarter system sucks.
It has a kind of splitting reality for engineering, which is that if you're this level, then you're playing catch up, right? If you're top level, then it's normal.
Right.
You don't even notice it.
Right.
If you're mid level, you're playing catch up. If you're not mid or if
you're
some
behind,
level, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a certain threshold where if you're not that level, you're never gonna catch up.
You're never gonna catch up. Yeah.
So I felt like I could do that, right? I could play catch up. I'm definitely not top level, but I could play catch up. But I won't play catch up because what's actually going to happen is I'm going to be playing catch up. I'm going to be keeping up with this, getting C's on midterms, getting B's on midterms maybe. But then I'm going to want to do something else. And when I want to do that other thing, school's over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're saying this in future tense. Is that what happened? Or?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yeah.
Matter of fact, the song that I like.
Cherry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because it takes there's a lot of ruminating.
Yeah.
That comes with making shit.
See, deep thought, man. You need time to think about things, and quarter system doesn't give you that.
It doesn't give you any time. So here's the thing that I was thinking. Okay, if I went to community college, one of these two things would happen, and depending on which thing happens, that'll determine the future. One of them is I actually get my chops up. right? And then I have more of a safety net if I get distracted for a week or something.
Yeah.
Another thing is I don't get my chops up, but I'm also not below the threshold at a community college. So if I did something on the side, I'd still pass with the A, pass with the B.
Right. It's not
So
that
then,
hard, yeah.
so if the first thing happened, go back to Davis. If the second thing happened, continue in the community college for as long as
figure
you
it out,
possibly. Yeah. And there's still a lot of room. I could take the whole physics series there. Mm-hmm. So I could spend plenty of time. It'd be cheap. I already have.
That's what I was going to say.
time.
It also just makes sense. I mean, financially and like with your education, to take all those classes at a community college, like it's easier to do them there. You can still learn the same thing there.
There's the speed advantage though.
Speed.
If you can do it at Davis and afford it, then it's like.
Well, why are you in a hurry?
I'm not really in a hurry. I'm not really in a hurry. But that was my attitude at the beginning. Now my attitude is I've spent some amount of time thinking about what my biggest weaknesses are creatively and how I'm going to try to attack those. And some of the big things are that I have a math paper, but I want to write an explanation for it.
Okay.
So I realized that it's actually a big priority for me. So
is this the paper that you were thinking about theorizing when I was?
I was already done with it at that point. I'm pretty sure because I was writing it with like Amira. The first.
Oh, it was that paper. Yeah, okay. Wait, so you're gonna write an explanation?
Maybe
for
I
that
thought
paper?
maybe I thought of some other ones since.
Well, you're talking.
I was talking about sex
like
one.
Yeah, the queer math paper.
No, that one's not.
That's what I was talking about.
That one's done. Fuck that one.
Yeah, that one's not done. That one's in the trash can.
Was in the
Yeah.
Done in the sense that it's not going to be approached. There's not really much there.
Okay.
And it's not even worth the fucking.
You were very, very adamant.
Well, the thing is,
it.
I just really what I mean when I say I want to write is I want to think about something.
Right.
And the writing is kind of like sometimes it helps. Mm-hmm. But when I thought about it, I realized like the conclusions here, the things that are worth talking about are not worth talking about because of the political climate.
I mean,
okay, so here's an example.
No, I mean, I get the political climate, but does that mean that you shouldn't wite it just for yourself?
I already have it for myself. I'm done with it for myself. So one of the things was, I think it's possible to be cisgender and intersex.
Cisgender and intersex. Okay.
By being
what is
non-binary.
Intersex? See, the thing is, I need to know the definitions on these things. So I don't even know. Yeah.
So intersex is on the biology side, and it means that you have genitalia from both male and female.
It's like what's the term? Hermaphrodite?
I don't know. I guess I don't.
Means you have both.
Yeah. All I know is intersex. See, this is part of the reason why this is a horrible time to write it, because saying the wrong.
Yeah. So
thing
if you're so you're saying you can have both of the genitalia, so that's your biology.
Yes.
And then cisgender is your sexuality.
Cisgender means that your
straight.
Identity.
Yeah.
No.
No?
Cisgender means that you're mentally the same as you are biologically.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would make sense.
But you would have the way to do that is to be non-binary.
To be non-binary.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're intersex and non-binary, that's cisgender. That was one of the conclusions of the paper.
That's confusing.
It is, but
you have
that's
to wrap
why,
your head around that.
Yeah, but that's a very mathy discussion to have.
Yeah.
But anyhow, you realize but there's no reason to even.
Yeah, what's the point of that? Like, why
there's no reason to
die
on that hill because I have no stake in the game. It's just something that's interesting because I was in the environment where people were worried about sex and gender.
Right.
So I said, well, this is actually
all that. Yeah.
If you really think about it, this is a matrix that we're talking about. There's sexuality on one hand and identity on the other.
It could be helpful for some people to think about it and to see it written out, though.
Yeah, and well, a lot of what I mean to say is that at its root, it is about categories, and categories are fundamentally a mathematical discussion. It's actually best had by the people who understand those things because you're not going to make beginners' mistakes.
Yeah,
and anyhow. It's not worth it.
Got
the
it.
grand
Got
unified
it.
theory of chefs is enough.
Right. And so now you're working on an explanation for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's really cool. Like one of the things I realized is that the best way to think about a chef is on the level of the brain.
Okay.
Now, I've always said a meal is a personally significant goal or accomplishment. Right. But what does it mean physically for something to be personally significant? It has to do with your interaction with the reward center of your own brain.
Right. For it to have significance, yeah.
Yeah. So the actual experience of significance is a physiological thing in space, but it's not, it's probably measurable, but I don't think it's something that can be measured in a meaningful way at this moment in time.
Maybe like if you
But
have
at some
electrodes
point-
up to somebody's head, you know,
Yeah,
you can
maybe
see
Elon
whatever,
Musk's Neuralink will be able to tell if you've. So basically, what I'm saying is the statement "that's a meal to him"
Yeah.
is actually a meaningful statement in physics. It's just not obvious that it's meaningful unless I kind of go through the explanation of like, okay, this is stupid, this is silly, but it's actually real. What I'm talking about is not something that's just purely creative. What we find meaningful in our lives from a neuroscience perspective is not very far-fetched anymore. You just need to talk about it in the right language. And I don't speak that language.
Okay.
But I do speak this other language, and I'm just justifying that, hey, when I say things like this, here's why you shouldn't dismiss it. Even if I'm not the person who knows everything about this, I do know enough about it to say it is, it comes from a real place. It comes from a real place that it really, doing different things in your day really does give you a different experience. Some things really are more rewarding, and you can dismiss that as a subjective discussion, but it's actually not. It's just that we haven't progressed far enough for us to have the objective discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Such as the sumo deadlift improving the rest of your week had a lot of significance.
yeah,
Or is
and
that not a good example?
it is a good example.
okay,
It's that anything that you find significant. My point is, finding something significant is actually an objective thing, and that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, actually.
What I'm saying is, I think it is not ridiculous to consider that it may be an objective thing.
For something to have significance.
No, for significance to be physics.
Okay. But why is that important to explain?
Because when you make a math model of something, it's more credible if you can draw a vague connection to physics.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because physics is kind of the world of math models.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is kind of the world of, I almost say it's like you can paint a picture of a lamp, but you can't really paint a picture of a thought. But that's what I've attempted to do.
Interesting.
So if I
Okay.
can convince you that a thought is similar to a lamp in some sense, then it's
see what
not
you're saying,
ridiculous anymore.
Yeah. Awesome. So is that the core of what the explanation's about?
That there's a
Explanation.
lot of math stuff too. Like there's pure and applied math.
Okay.
And pure math is largely about writing proofs to gain deeper insight into math problems. So one way of thinking about it is you want to have a more general model of something that's already that applies to more areas than just one. I don't have any examples for that.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to. Yeah.
But then applied is usually about looking at something in the world and saying, let's come up with a way. Let's use what we know about this language called mathematics to describe this thing that's in the real world. And an example of that is waves, and like the sine wave, which is a trig thing.
You're losing me. I'm fading out right
All
now.
right, whatever.
It's all good. Math shit, dude.
The point is,
I'm just a fire.
the point is, I try to bring it from like, nothing about any of this
Yeah.
shit to like, here's why someone would be interested in doing this useless thing.
Right.
Here's like almost
valuable, yeah.
like here's why it's cool. Here's why it's way cooler than you thought it was. Like these are scribbles, okay, but here's the background for why.
So I remember when I
scribbles
first read the Grand Unified Chef Theory. That's what it's called. Say it again.
Grand Unified Theory of Chefs.
Of chefs. Sorry, don't get insulted or offended. It was gibberish to me.
It
Just
is
all these,
gibberish.
all these.
Well, the truth is gibberish to me.
Oh my God. What's the point, though?
But it's also real.
Okay, right. See, but to me, it was purely gibberish.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the real side, so I can see the value in the explanation for that. As a lay person who doesn't speak maths.
One interesting thing is infinity.
That is very interesting.
Like if you think
the
of
concept of infinity, yeah.
If you think of all the whole numbers from 1 up, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you think of the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 7, there's the same number of both of them.
Interesting.
It's the same infinity.
That is interesting, yeah. It's very interesting.
And it's like a matching thing. If you can match 1 to 1, then it must be infinity. So you say, okay, 1, 2.
3, 4. Yeah.
2, 4. Oh, you can match it 1 to 1 the whole way.
Yeah.
Every time you have one here,
stops,
you have one on the other side. So who's to say that they're different? It's the same infinity.
Oh, so you're saying is there a fundamental difference between odd and even?
No, I'm saying it's weird. The concept of infinity is it's weird, and it's weird in ways that aren't obvious.
Yeah. No, there's lots of different ways you can point that out, I'm sure.
Like in the grand unified theory of chefs, there's an infinity in it, which is the set of all possible meals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, how many possible goals are there? 6? 392? It has to be infinity.
Why does it have to be infinity?
Because infinity just means that if you add one more, you can always create one more thing that still fits in that group. Mm-hmm. So even if you feel like you have all of them, you could just combine 2 of them, and then that would be a new one, and that one would fit in. Yeah. So you can never have all of them. So a lot of weird things come from that. Mm-hmm. But I have to have a brief discussion about infinity because people don't know about infinity.
It's a weird thing.
It's a weird thing.
Never ends.
So you know what I'm saying.
But there are not an infinite amount of chefs.
There might be. I'm not sure that there's not an infinite number of chefs.
Are chefs not limited to Homo sapiens?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
are they not limited to sentient beings?
You just have to have goals and make progress toward them.
But there can only be goals as long as there's people pursuing goals.
Maybe.
So does that mean that the amount of goals are infinite? Do the goals stop existing if all the people stop existing?
Probably not.
Sounds like a hole in the theory, man.
No, I don't think the goals...
So you think that ideas can be separate from physical reality?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Really?
Sure. Why not? I mean, why not?
Interesting. Huh.
Now, see, these types of discussions actually come straight from that gibberish because you end up running into a number of topics that don't have obvious conclusions. It's like, wait a minute, this, like, a big one is the logic versus emotion debate, quote unquote, which I don't think is a very good debate. Mm-hmm. I've kind of glossed over with the whole neuroscience thing, but it's that can you have a rational model of something that's not measurable? You know, it's not really obvious that you can or why you might be able to, but if you're trying to do that, then you kind of have to have that discussion, and it, you know, to me, that's one of the beauties behind it, is that packaged in this gibberish is 7 important philosophical discussions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not just math; it's philosophy too.
It's mostly philosophy.
I personally think that you can't have ideas without people.
Why not? Okay, let's think of it like that. How about let's go back to goals, right?
Goals, yeah.
Well, what is a goal?
Let's say my goal is to pick this up.
Yeah.
That can be a goal, right?
Right.
Just pick this up.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm not here, can the goal of me picking that up be there? Yeah. If there's no me to pick it up, how can the goal be there?
How can the goal be there? Well, you can set a goal for someone that doesn't exist, though. Like, let's just make up Boo-Rah-Rah.
Okay.
Boo-Rah-Rah shedding off this camera.
Right.
Exists.
And what if Boo-Rah-Rah's, not only is Boo-Rah-Rah not there, but nothing that is even like Boo-Rah-Rah that can make the decision to shut off the camera is there. If there's just a camera in space, but no Boo-Rah-Rahs or Boo-Rah-Rah-kins, how can...
Well, what I would do is I would look at the physical, the actions that make up shutting off the camera and say, as long as those possibilities exist, then the goal exists.
But what about the component of like will, you know, like willing yourself to do that?
I just do a hand wave to will.
Okay. I think
because I think that the goal exists independent of the will. I think the will is how you achieve the goal.
Okay.
But I don't think the will has to be in the goal.
But
Like,
even the idea of a goal itself, how can there be a goal if there's nothing that wants to pursue that, is what I'm trying to say. Like,
maybe there can't be.
I don't think there can be. I think that it's something that's intimately tied with life.
Yeah.
You know? It's a living thing. I think that you can't. I think you can abstract it in theory and make some equation that'll say, okay, sure, you can have a goal without people, but I think in real life you can't have a goal without people.
In real life, yeah. Well, I don't think a person can have a goal without people. But I think the goal can exist even if nobody has that goal.
How does it exist?
I think it exists.
Where does it exist, more importantly?
Yeah, I think it exists as the potential for some actions or some set of actions.
And where is that?
It's just in the potential for actions depends on the state of all of the matter at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds reasonable to me.
So in some sense, like if a boulder is on a hill, then it has the potential to roll down the hill,
well,
even if it never does.
Yeah, if you're talking of goals as like possible futures.
Yeah, that's probably why we disagree, because I'm just saying, well, it's just the possibility of something happening without saying how it'll happen or who will do it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. And there are an infinite amount of possible futures.
Yeah, and
everything we do shapes those futures.
As long as it can be done, then it is in my sense a goal. Mm-hmm. And then if someone says I want to be the person to do that, then it's their goal.
Got it.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, what,
bullshit. It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. I mean, some people, I made this song called Gold Chain back in the day.
Gold Chain.
Yeah, Gold Chain. And it was, I did my thing and I got a gold chain. Know what I mean, man? I got a gold chain. I went insane, had to rep my whole lane. I've been in pain, icing on a cold day. And that was the whole song.
Nice.
It repeated about 10 billion times. But some people, the goal is just a gold chain, But for other people, the gold chain is the metaphor for the real goal. Maybe they say, oh, gold chain, it's something that will give me respect. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's something that is difficult to acquire. Mm-hmm. And that's my goal, is to have respect and to have something that's difficult to acquire. And then some other thing actually fits the description in real life.
Yeah.
And I would count these abstractions as goals too.
Yeah,
to say,
not just the gold chain, but what it represents as well.
Yeah, and not just the physical actions and potentials in the real world, but also what those actions and potentials represent to the individual pursuing the goal. And that has nothing to do with the actions, you know what I mean? You could say, my goal is to be strong, and then go on and write a play. And say, oh yeah, that's being strong. To me, writing the play is being strong. And I would count that as a goal as well.
Yep. Sounds right to me.
All right. Well, it sounds like it's time for the most important question in the universe.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I know that there's only one outcome. Let's hear it. Oh no, what's it gonna be? Let's not do any up or down, right or left. Come on. This or that.
Wait, you're kind of ruining the whole flow of the show.
I told you I would.
Okay, let me do this over.
I'm just upholding my promise.
And now it's time for the most important question in the universe.
The most important question in the universe.
First or second?
Second.
That's right. Strawberry, blueberry.
Strawberry, blueberry.
One berry, two berry.
One berry, two berry.
That's a snack, blackberry. Hey,
That's a snack,
do I really want the stem or the cherry? bucket naked doing mathematics. Hey, dynamic, I don't mind static. Hey, can't deny it, I might die tonight. Hey, every rainbow's just white light. Keep my toppings on topper. Helicopter, draw the whole lot. Cartographer, think about dots. Philosopher, check the bars with a barometer. Not a day without chefing, that's negligence. Don't trust what I say, check the evidence. It all depends on the mold you were shaped in. What you make from the leaves that you break in. Either you get it or you don't. Either it's burnt bread or it's toast. Either a wavelength or a note. Either a joke or a real quote. Either use it or lose your vote. Strawberry, blueberry. One berry, two berry. That's a snack, blackberry. Hey, do I really want the stem or the cherry? Not the most musical, more Dr. Seussical. All my work's useless, I keep my dick usable. I'm a nuisance, the proof's in the juices. Finish all your trig and your sig, big Newtons. She smoked that estrogen and progesterone. Threw it in the vape, took it to the dome. Fuck it, I might hit the testosterone. Chef's cut, dopamine with some melatonin. I can't tame it if it's too tame. I can't name it, it's a new name. Left, right when the life came. Every night play the dice game. Draw the line through the right planes. Is it mean if I don't mean it? What's a fucking mean to a deviant? And not to diss you, but you stop chefing. I don't miss you, I have no tissue. Strawberry, blueberry. One berry, two berry. That's a snack, blackberry. Hey, do I really want the stem or the cherry? I keep it one more than 1,000. I see these sheep charged up, keep it rounded. Somebody show these where the pound is. I think the kitchen's getting crowded. Same place, different state. Same shit the chefs love, the sheep hate. Keep my beats in a briefcase. Never cheap with the beefsteak. Nothing free in that sweepstake. I think they're locked into the optics. I'm like the opposite, I'm like their complement. I'd rather say a lot with a little. Sold the violin, got a fiddle. If you don't experiment, you don't walk. You wanna talk? Are you really about the chalk? Then please shut the fuck up. Enough is enough. Sheep ass arguments, get your tongue cut. Strawberry, blueberry. One berry, two berry. That's a snack, blackberry. Hey, do I really want the stem or the cherry?